Hey guys, it's Emma. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to do another tier ranking video. I haven't done a video like this, I think, since the end of last year. I tier ranked all the books I had read in 2023. Before that, I did tier ranking book boyfriends, tier ranking couples. So I'm back today and I'm gonna do something different, and I'm gonna be tier ranking book tropes. I feel like before I really wanted to do this video like ranking book tropes, but I was like, I don't think I've read that many book tropes. But when I watched a video for like inspiration, I noticed that I definitely have read a lot more book tropes than I thought I did. So I'm really excited to do this video so we could see like what my favorites are. You guys can obviously do this your own, you know, answer them as I go, or you could go to the website and do it yourself. But yeah, I'm really excited to do this one. I have it set up on my computer. I'm going to share my screen obviously so you guys can see everything that I'm doing. So this is what my screen looks like. There's going to be ads at the top popping up. I don't know how to get rid of those, so we're just going to have to deal with it. But this is what it looks like. The bottom, these are all the tropes we're going to be talking about. I have around like 30-ish tropes to put there. The video I watched, they had like around 50, like probably a little bit more. But I didn't want to put that many because one, I didn't want the video to be too long. Two, some of them I honestly had not read any books, which some of these I haven't read, but they're very common, so I left them in. But a lot of them I just didn't want to include really. So yeah, this is kind of like my own. But we're going to go through the rankings and kind of what they mean so you guys understand when we go through them. But at the top, we have, I will read any book with this trope. This is a trope where someone will tell me, oh, this book has this trope, and I'll say, I'm going to read it automatically, whether I'm buying the book or adding it to my Kindle, I'm reading it. Yeah, this one, there's probably not going to be a lot because there's not a lot of books that I'll just read it just because of the trope. Like, I have to actually enjoy the plot, but sometimes with the trope, I'm like, yeah, I'll definitely eat this up and read it. Then we have, I usually enjoy it. This one is like, obviously, I'm not going to read every book that has this trope, but when I do read it, I love it, and I usually enjoy these. Next is not my fave, but not my least fave. Basically what it is, it's mid, you know, I'll read it, but it's not amazing, but it's also not terrible. It's just there. Then we have doesn't hit unless it's done right. There's just some book tropes that sometimes they're kind of cringy when it happens, or sometimes it like hits really hard, so it just depends how it's done. This one is kind of similar to not my fave but not my least fave, but they are sort of different in a way. Then we have not a vibe or fan. I just simply, I don't like it. I think it's okay if you like it, you know, I could kind of understand, you do you, but me personally, I don't like it. Then we have get rid of it. This is, I don't understand how anyone could read a book like this. Yeah. Hold on, I think I'm gonna go add another trope that I forgot to add. I don't know why I didn't add it, but last but least, we have haven't read. Simply what it is, I have not read a book with this trope. So let's get into it after all that explaining. So first trope we have is grumpy sunshine. This is a very popular trope. Either the guy just is grumpy, he doesn't really show his emotions, and the girl is usually the sunshine. Usually it's different. Sometimes the girl is the grumpy one and the guy is the sunshine. It's not like my absolute favorite just because I feel like every book has this trope at this point. Like, I feel like every book is grumpy sunshine. So I think I'm gonna put it in doesn't hit unless it's done right, because sometimes it's just you really like the grumpy guy, or you really like the sunshine guy and the grumpy girl, but sometimes it's just typical, like, oh, of course this is just another book with it, and it's just not hitting. But sometimes it really does hit, so we're gonna leave it there. Childhood friends to lovers. This one might have to be pretty high. I think I'm either going to put it in I usually enjoy it, or I will read any book with this trope, because I bought Forever Never by Lucy Score just because I saw that they were childhood friends. I think I'll probably put I will read any book with this trope. It just hits so much different when you know that they've known each other from such a young age, and then they grow to be lovers, because it's like they already know so much about each other. And it's just really cute. I think it's definitely going to be an I will read any book with this trope. Next we have enemies to lovers. And I think I'm going to put it in also doesn't hit unless it's done right. It's kind of cut off, which sucks, but you guys get what it says. but I'm gonna put it in doesn't hit unless it's done right. There's just a difference between enemies to lovers in a romance book and enemies to lovers in a fantasy book, because in fantasy, you know, stakes are higher, they have to be enemies. Like in Fourth Wing, you kind of understand why they're enemies and why they like can't really be together and why they have to sneak around and why they're like, why they hate each other and then why they get together. Like you kind of understand it. Romance books, for example, when they're like enemies, are you guys really enemies, or like did your dog just bite your neighbor? Like, and that's why you guys don't like each other. You know? It's just like dumb reasons. Like you guys aren't enemies. Like maybe you guys don't like each other, but you guys aren't enemies. So it just has to be done right. It won't hit unless it's done right is what I meant. Billionaire. I'm gonna put it in I usually enjoy it. So the billionaire romances I've read, it's only been Dreamland Billionaire, I think. But I want to read Wild Love. I think that's also billionaire. I'm not really sure, but I love these. Sometimes I've heard people read like billionaire romances and they're like, the guys are kind of like cocky that they have all this money, but I've never read a book like that where the guys are cocky. I've loved all the billionaire romances I've read, so I think I definitely enjoy it. I wouldn't read every single book with this trope just because it's not really a popular one that I'm obsessed with, but if I do read a book with this trope, I usually do enjoy it. Next we have Workplace. I think I'm gonna put this one in not my fave, not my least fave. It doesn't really stick out to me when I read like a workplace romance. The only one I can think of right now is The Spanish Love Deception, I think. But that was such a long time ago, but I did enjoy it. I think they also went on a trip though, but then they had to like work together. So it wasn't like my least favorite, but when I think back on that book, I'm not thinking like, oh, like the workplace like romance trope was in there. I didn't think of that. So it's not my least favorite, it's not my favorite, it's just kind of there. We have Friends to Lovers. I'm gonna put this in I usually enjoy it. I would put this in I will read any book with this trope because Friends to Lovers is probably my favorite trope, but I feel like every book kind of is Friends to Lovers. Like that's kind of a very common trope. So I'm obviously not going to read every single book that's Friends to Lovers, but when I read a Friends to Lovers book, I absolutely love it. So that one's definitely going to go there. We have Second Chance Romance. I feel like I'm going to have to put this one in I will read any book with this trope. I feel like it kind of could go hand in hand with childhood Friends to Lovers. I'm just thinking of what is it? Love of Other Words? Love of Any Words? Wait, Love of Other Words. Love and Other Words. I can't even think of the book correctly. Whatever. I'm thinking of Love and Other Words when they were childhood friends and then they became strangers and then they became lovers again and it was Second Chance. That's what I'm thinking of, but I think Second Chance romances are also like so amazing. You tell me a book has second chance and I probably will automatically read it just because when they get a second chance, you know they want to do it right the second time. Like they want to try again and be better. So it's just so much more. It's much stronger than a normal romance book, so definitely, I think that one's definitely going to stay at the top. Fake dating. This is like definitely top 3 favorite tropes. I will eat up any book that has a fake dating trope. I love it so much. I don't know if to put it in I will read any book with this trope or I usually enjoy it. Sometimes it could fit into the category doesn't hit unless it's done right because sometimes it's like typical, like of course they're gonna fake date, but I'm gonna put it in I usually enjoy it. I'm not gonna read every book with this trope. I usually will pick up a fake dating romance and absolutely love it. I love these romances because it starts off as like we're just gonna do this to fake date. But as they go on, obviously they get these feelings, but then they have to pretend like they're still fake dating and they don't know if the other one still thinks it's fake dating. So there's just all of that to it that just makes it so good. I love it so much. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely like one of my favorite tropes. Then we have Mafia Romance. I actually have never read a Mafia Romance, but I think it would be so interesting to read one. And I think that's so hot. Sue me. But just thinking about a man in the mafia trying to protect a girl and then he like falls in love with her, whatever. What? Count me in. If you guys have any recommendations, let me know and I'll get on that. Next we have Bodyguard Romance. The only bodyguard romance I have read is Twisted Games. I loved it. But I'm gonna put it in not my fave, but not my least fave. It wasn't like crazy over the top, but it wasn't terrible either. Like, I was definitely eating up the fact that he's like her bodyguard and he has to protect her, but he can't really get in a relation with her because then that ruins his job. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I know there's a movie that's kind of like this that I really want to watch. I think it's called like First Daughter, but I really want to watch that movie just because I read a book like this. And I'm not going to put it in I usually enjoy it because I'm pretty sure I've only read one book that involves this trope, so it's gonna be right there. Then we have friends to enemies to lovers. I think I'm gonna put this one not a vibe. I actually don't know if I've ever read a book like this. I'm really trying to think. I don't think I've read a book like this, but I feel like even if I did read a book like this, I wouldn't really like it. I just have a feeling like when they start off as friends, they know everything about each other, and then when they go to enemies, they like know all this information, and there's obviously a reason they became enemies. And then to go straight to being lovers again, something isn't sitting right with me. But yeah, I don't think I've ever read a book that has that trope. Then we have brother's best friend. I'm gonna say I usually enjoy it. It's usually like, I actually love these tropes. Yeah, it's definitely gonna have to say and I usually enjoy it. There's a lot of books I've read with this trope. I really can't name them, but I've read a bunch. And I just love the fact that they have to like kind of keep it secret because obviously like her brother's gonna be mad. And then the best friend has to keep it secret because he's like, I can't, like, he's always made me like protect you. That's always a thing too. Like, the brother's always like, you need to protect my little sister, whatever. And then they end up liking the sister. And something about it'll just get me every time. Then we have royalty. And I don't think I've read a royalty romance. I don't know if Twisted Games counts. Oh wait, have I read royalty? I don't really know if like Cruel Prince counts. If Cruel Prince counts, I'm not a fan. But I don't really know. I'm trying to look at my books over there. I don't think I've read a royalty. If Cruel Prince counts, I would put it in not a vibe or fan. But if it doesn't count, then I'm just gonna keep it in haven't read. I don't think I've read any royalty romances. I don't know if Twisted Games counts. Like, I don't know. I'm like blanking out on books I've read, but I'm pretty sure I have not read a royalty romance. Then we have slow burn. I'm gonna put doesn't hit unless it's done right. Sometimes a slow burn can really hit. It'll only be when there's like interactions that like you could feel the tension and you know they're gonna get together eventually, but there's just like the little tension moments that you're getting. But then there's other books that have slow burns that is just like there's no flirty interactions with each other, and it's drawn out all the way to the end of the book, and then they just automatically get together, and it's like, whoa, we didn't even see them like have a flirty conversation and they're already together. I think it definitely has to be done right to be a good book, or like with a good book with this trope. Yeah, if it is done right, slow burn really does hit because you can just feel the tension throughout the whole book. Next we have One of Us is Famous. I've read When in Rome, and the girl in that book was famous. I've read another book, but I can't remember. But I'm gonna say it's not my fave, but not my least fave. I really liked When in Rome, but again, it was a book that I liked just because of like the plot, the romance. It wasn't really because like, oh, I love the fact that she's famous and like he's not, and that like whatever. It just wasn't a strong trope to me, but it wasn't bad. Like, the trope didn't make it bad, the trope didn't make it good. It was just kind of there. Next we have Bully Romance. And I'm gonna say get rid of this. I read the book Bully when I first started getting into reading, and I actually really loved it. Plot twist, I did love it. But I loved it because they used to go to like, was it like car meets or something like that, like at night, and I kind of liked that aspect of it. The romance was kind of weird to me because he was a little bit of a bully, hence the title of the book. But I will just never get how a bully turns into your lover. Because bullies are like mean. Like, they're like going at it with you. And then you're gonna date them. Like, I don't know. Get rid of it. It doesn't make sense to me. Then we have Love Triangle. And I'm gonna say I'm not a fan. I can understand why other people like love triangles because they're like, oh, who is she gonna pick? Is she gonna pick this guy, this guy? Personally, I'm not a fan. Because we always know who she's gonna go with, so it's like there's really no guessing. And then it's like if you want her to go for this guy and she doesn't, or she does, I don't know, I just don't get excited over that. Sometimes it is interesting to read. It's always so obvious who she's going to end up with. So, I don't know. I'm not a fan, but I could definitely see why people enjoy love triangles, which is very minimal. Not a lot of people like love triangles. We have Accidental Pregnancy. I'm going to put it in doesn't hit unless it's done right. I've read a few books with this trope. It all depends on how the guy takes the pregnancy, I think, because I'm just thinking about the Briar U series. If you guys haven't read Briar U, skip a little bit. I'm sure everyone has read that book. It's a very old series, hockey romance series, whatever. It was very popular on TikTok a while ago, but I'm pretty sure everyone has read it. So anyways, basically the girl in that book gets pregnant, and I loved Tucker, the guy in that book. He was probably my favorite Briar U boy, and the way he handled that whole situation was amazing. Like, I could literally marry that man right now. I think definitely if it's done right, for sure, but sometimes I just don't know how I feel about pregnancies in books, because I want to see their romance building, because then it's like now they're focused on a baby. I really don't know how to feel about it. I'm just gonna leave it there. Now we have Insta Love. I'm gonna put it in not a vibe. Not a fan. Honestly, it might be in get rid of it. I'm gonna put it in get rid of it. Yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna leave it there. It's just very unrealistic. Like, when they're like love at first sight, like, no. Simply, like, no. Like, I don't really have much to say on that one. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's unrealistic. Yeah, moving on. I added slow burn twice. We'll move that to the end. Marriage of Convenience. I'm gonna put it, I'm also gonna put this one in doesn't hit unless it's done right. I've read The Final Offer that has this trope. I really liked that book. Oh wait, it wasn't The Final Offer. Was it? It was Terms and Conditions, I think. I don't really know what to say about this one. I'm like blanking a little bit. I think it's just that I have so many tropes that I'm getting drained out. I don't know. When I read The Final Offer, I really liked it, but I feel like sometimes it could be, again, it's another trope that's like kind of typical. This also kind of could go hand in hand with like fake dating, but when it's a marriage. Oh, I've also read, what was it? It was the first book in the, what series was that? In the Queen's Cove series, that kind of guy, the first book in that series, it was Marriage of Convenience, because he wanted to, what is it? Like mayor of the town or whatever, and he needed a good rep, so he needed a wife, whatever. So I read a few books with this trope. Honestly, I think I'm gonna put it in not my fave, but not like my least fave. It was a good book, but it wasn't like my favorite. It wasn't my least favorite. It was kind of just there. The books I've read with Marriage of Convenience, I feel like it doesn't really add anything to the book, but I usually like, they're kind of just in the middle. We have Single Parent, and I don't know if to put this one all the way to the top or I usually enjoy it. I think I'm gonna put I usually enjoy it, because sometimes single parent, the kid is really annoying, and that kind of ruins the whole thing. In the recent books I've read that have single parent tropes, I've loved them, and I'm pretty sure like the new series by Elsie Silver, I think they're all single parent tropes, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not really sure. And I'm so excited because I love single parent tropes, especially when the dad is a single parent, because it's like, ooh, like Heartless by Elsie Silver. Wow, that book was absolutely amazing. Probably one of my favorite books ever. Love at First Sight. Oh, this is kind of the same as Insta Love. So we'll put it in well, I guess it's not really the same. Insta Love is like they kind of have something and then they're automatically in. My camera stopped recording. Anyway, I'm moving Insta Love to not a vibe / fan. Just, you know, whatever. Love at First Sight though, when they automatically, I don't think I've read a book like this, but if there are actually books like that, get rid of them. So it's kind of like a little bit of both, but I really don't get it. Teacher / student. I also don't think I've read a book like this, but when I think of this, I think of Pretty Little Liars with Ezra and, what is it, Arya? Listen, that was amazing. That's like the only exception. It's also a show, so it's a little bit different, I feel like. I don't really know, haven't read a book like that, but I know about it from like Pretty Little Liars. Only One Bed. I'm putting this one in doesn't hit unless it's done right. If it's done right, oh yeah, I'm definitely eating that up. However, sometimes it's just like we already know, like when they're going on a vacation or they're taking like a mini road trip, we know there's gonna be one bed. We know, sometimes we see it coming, so it's just like kind of boring. When it's kind of out of nowhere, or if we see it coming and there's like some moments that are happening, then it hits. But sometimes I've read a book where there's like an only one bed trope and they don't even sleep in the bed together, so then it's like, why'd you even add the trope in the book? If it's done right, it definitely does hit. Next we have Right Person, Wrong Time. Listen, I'm taking this as second chance romance. I will read any book with this trope. It just really gets me. Maybe it's because I relate to it. Hey, I don't know. But if I hear about a romance book where they're trying to make it work again, it was just the wrong time. And usually if it's right person, wrong time, you'll see them go through it and like in the past, and then you see them working for it now, and it just hits so much. Again, I said the same thing for Second Chance. They're just working so much harder for it the second time around, and it's just so much better. But definitely all the way at the top. I love books that are like that. Sports romance, definitely, I usually enjoy it. I won't read every book with this trope just because I feel like sometimes sports romances are added into like there was a book I read. It was a really random book that I did not like. Cruel King, the Royal Elite series. This book, I can't remember what sport he played. I'm guessing the rest of the series is about the rest of his teammates, and I will never read those books. Like, no. So I will not read every book with this trope, but when I do read a sports romance book, I usually enjoy it. I love sports romances. I love athletes, especially when you get to see the athletes' soft side, because you see like their playful side, like with their teammates, and then you kind of think, oh, they're a jerk, like they're an athlete, and then you see them get soft, like for the girl. I love it. I love to see it. Forced proximity. I'm gonna put this one in not my fave, not my least fave. If I see it in a book, I'm gonna be like, okay. It doesn't really add to the book, doesn't take away from the book. It's kind of just there. Best friend's brother. This one's kind of different from brother's best friend. I feel like this one kind of hurts a little bit more because it's your best friend's brother and you're the one hurting your best friend. With brother's best friend, your brother has to deal with his best friend. Like, that's their problem. But if it's best friend's brother, it's a little different. I don't know. I'm gonna put it in doesn't hit unless it's done right, because sometimes it's like why would you do that to your best friend? Because sometimes the romance isn't even good, and it's like, wow, you really just had a terrible romance and kind of ruined a relationship with your best friend. Obviously everything gets solved at the end, but it's like, was it worth it? But sometimes it is really good, so that's where it's gonna be. Doesn't hit unless it's done right. Friends with benefits to lovers. Listen, I'm definitely putting this in I usually enjoy it. I will eat up a book that has friends with benefits to lovers. I will read any book with this trope. I wouldn't put it there because it's not like I'm searching for books with like friends with benefits. But if I'm reading a book and it has friends with benefits to lovers, listen, I'm loving it for sure. Literally, the Dixon Rule kind of had that, and I loved it. That was probably one of my favorite books I've read this year. Secret relationship. I'm also gonna say I usually enjoy it. That trope is kind of broad. Again, it could be in like brother's best friend, friends with benefits to lovers, like, I don't know, like sometimes you can't really tell anyone, so that one's kind of broad, but I do usually enjoy it. So I'm gonna put it in there with the other ones that are kind of secretive. Last one we have, since we already did slow burn, is age gap. This is the one I added last minute because I low-key forgot about it. But this one I'm gonna put in doesn't hit unless it's done right. Because sometimes in romance books they have an age gap and they'll like keep mentioning it throughout the whole book. Like the guy will keep saying like, oh, she's younger, like she's too young for me. Or the girl's like, he's too old for me. And I'm like, okay, we get it. In the last book of the Gold Rush Ranch series, the last book, it was one of the cowboys' little sister with his best friend. So it was brother's best friend too, and age gap. She was, I think, 19 and the guy was like in his 20s kind of. But she was so mature. She was a very mature character. And reading about her, she seemed so much older. And they would bring it up a few times, like, oh, like, we're kind of a far apart in age. For a reader, it didn't bother me at all because she was so mature and they honestly felt like they were the same age. So definitely in that aspect, like, I loved the age gap because they're like perfect for each other despite their like age. But sometimes it's like so obvious that there's a huge age gap because they'll keep mentioning it, or there's an obvious like, you know, immature and mature person. So yeah, I think that's definitely where I'm gonna put it. Those are my rankings for book tropes. Honestly, that was fun. Now I feel like I'm in the mood to read books based off tropes. Actually, that'd be a fun video idea. Reading books with the billionaire trope. I should do that. New video? Video coming soon? Don't take my word for it. I'm not coming soon. But that'd be a good fun video idea to do. Anyway, that is gonna be it for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you guys want to see me tier ranking other things. Like I said, last year I did book couples, book boyfriends. I could do those again with the book boyfriends and book couples I've read this year. And I think that'll be really fun. I've read a variety of different couples and boyfriends, so that would be really fun to do. But yeah, that is the end of this video, so I really hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to give it a like, subscribe, turn on your post notifications so you know when I post my next video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!